Who won this year's scholarship to Croke Alanya?
Me?
Welcome to Croke Alanya. We hope you enjoy your stay with us. Get settled in and I'll go grab something to drink.
Maria, can I borrow your book?
Sorry, I don't have mine. You should go talk to the professor.
I hope you've been studying for the exam this afternoon.
This may be helpful.
Hey, how are you? Looks like you're running a little bit late today.
Over here we have some beautiful one-of-a-kind plates. You're not going to find anything like this.
Aren't these just beautiful glasses? Here, take one.
You broke my glass?
How am I going to pay for that? It's not even my merchandise.
Why did you miss the exam? Were you not thinking?
No, I can't help. I'm busy.
Luna, we need to talk.
I don't think so. Excuse me? No.
So that was the first, thank you, that was the first experiment with building. And what we did, basically what Croke Alanya is an educationally purposed environment for the learning of requesting and apologizing in Spanish. So learners go in, they have different quests they have to complete. They're multi-staged, multi-leveled, with the intention, of course, of giving learners that autonomy, those choices that we're talking about, and the idea that completing all of those quests at the end is possible and is worth doing, but also recognizing their individual sort of choices. So instead of getting a right-wrong response, they actually interact with non-player characters, simulated virtual characters in the world, in order to be able to make pragmatic choices. They listen to a response and then they have to give a pragmatic response, and the non-player character reacts the way that they did when I collected all of the data. So basically, if you say something wrong, you don't get a teacher saying, no, you shouldn't say it that way. You actually get an NPC who looks at you and says, no, and will walk away, or yells at you, or gets mad, right? So a real influence and a real thing of pragmatic choice. What we have in Croke Alanya are both synchronous and asynchronous interaction between the learners as well, so they can collaborate to sort of solve the quests, to solve the mysteries. You have a written chat that they can use. You have a voice control chat, so there's voice over IP. You also have a quest log to keep track of all the different tasks and different areas that you have to work with. And then a map you can instantly port from one area of this world. It's a study abroad simulation, right? So you have a host family, a professor's office, a plaza, a marketplace. And then an asynchronous message board where you can actually leave messages and say, hey, warning, this person's missing. We actually had a technical glitch and one of our characters just disappeared, which turned out to be perfect because it made it a lot harder for the students, and all of a sudden they started leaving messages that said, have you seen Anna? I don't see Anna in the plaza. She's not there. And so they had this whole discourse around trying to solve this problem in Spanish, which is exactly what I wanted them to be doing. What I found as a designer is this is very, very difficult to create. That happened by accident, right? So knowing now what the data shows us, it's very, very complicated, and we have to draw on game design research in order to be able to build. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. Just so you have an idea, the data set that came from this project, some work has been published on it, some we're still in the middle of coming out, forthcoming, but 53 advanced learners of Spanish, which was 6th semester in this case. 120 hours of gameplay data. So what I did is on the back end of the gameplay, 6 weeks of implementation, we recorded every single thing every learner did in that space. So then I can go back and play that back, and I have a video playback as well as a written transcript to analyze exactly how tasks happen, how feedback was taken by those students. Also, there's a pre-post survey as well as assessment of their pragmatic abilities for requesting and apologizing. One-on-one interviews with a subset of participants. It turned out to be about 40 hours of interviews. Total, they did a midpoint and an endpoint. And then class presentations that they had to come in and present in Spanish about what they had learned in this environment. What we found in general, and again, this is a huge study that I'm summarizing pretty quickly, but 4 distinct styles of gameplay emerged, which isn't necessarily surprising knowing what we know now, but it's an empirical sort of investigation of if it existed. The majority of them played it just like a student. 30 students went in, they completed everything, got a check mark by their box, did their presentation, and were done. Very little experimentation, very little messing around, just checking things out, finding mysteries. 13 students we call the gamer students. Basically, they went in, they spent by far almost triple the amount of time of any other students in this group. They took it like a game, and they spent a lot of time really figuring out every sort of nuance about requesting and apologies they could. Also, we found that restarting equaled failure. If we go back to what we were talking about, the idea of experimentation and the idea you can just keep working, this isn't very good. I wasn't very excited about this. Right? The idea that they felt like every time they started over they were doing something wrong isn't what I wanted. That's not our goal in a game. Our goal is actually for them to keep trying and trying and trying. So that's something that we definitely learned a lot about for future game design. There was some improvement, especially in terms of apologies. Some of that is due to the assessment measure I used, but a lot of it is due to, I think, the fact that that wasn't sort of how they took it, right? They went in, got their class presentation. So this epic win idea was not strong enough in terms of game design. And the more and more we work in newer projects and newer areas, we're finding how important this really is for building spaces. And also finally, the critical role of the instructor. It's very clear in the data. Those students who had an instructor who played the game were 3 times more likely to spend time with the game and actually engage around it. It's not surprising, but it's very, very clear in this type of data. Especially for those of us interested in teacher training, supervising graduate students, it's really, really critical to get people on board and have it as part of what they're doing. The next project that I want to talk about is in a really, really different vein. It moves away from this idea of building spaces that are huge, 3D immersive, beautiful graphics, right? All the graphics were taken from photographs that we took in the Spanish-speaking world. I took them, went, traveled, came home with sound, everything. This is what we call ecological design, and it's a project that I'm working on with my colleague Chris Holden at the University of New Mexico. And by ecological design, what we mean is that anyone can do it. We built our first iteration with $10,000. Most of that went to graduate student time. Linda Lemus, who's here in the SLAT now, she's left us. She finished her MA. But she worked on it with us. That's what that money paid for, was her time, basically. There's no money to build, long story short, in terms of, and so we're really thinking about, well, can we build in these behaviors in much different ways than we see in 3D immersive spaces? And what Mentira is it is a mobile game played on an iPhone or an iTouch. We actually have iTouches, right? Everyone's seen these little devices that they play, and then they take out into the neighborhood. So not only sort of mentally and virtually are we getting them out of the classroom, as we saw in Croke Alanya, but we're actually getting them into Spanish-speaking neighborhoods in Albuquerque. It would be awesome to build mobile games here in Tucson, right? There are a million neighborhoods we could think of. That would be great. But what Mentira is a game. It's a murder mystery game. And I'm going to play the trailer, but I took out the sound because I wanted to talk while I was playing it. It's a murder mystery game in which you have to clear your family's name. There are 4 families. Has anyone seen National Treasure, the movie? I don't know. Chris hates it when I say that because he really hates that movie. But we drew our whole game design narrative off of it. So